Listen, man, I would never in a million years expect to make a video about EToH with a fake green screen that I borrowed from my brother, but you know, I mean, sometimes life is fucking weird. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. On the 23rd of October, one of the owners of Eternal Towers of Hell would make an announcement for the entire community to see, saying that the game would shut down to test out the B3 update. 2 days later, EToH and its Discord server will close, and for 3 days, it will be kept that way. On the 26th, while the server was still closed, an announcement will be made, showing an entire changelog of new content, which had a ridiculous amount of quality of life modifications, but most importantly, it included the release of Purgatorio, making it the largest update in the game's history. But the things that I'm going to mainly discuss in this video are Purgatorio, the new ring select, the new in-game menu, and the game code rewrite. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm doing like a 4. Yeah, a 4. After this announcement, a few controversies happened, with the most known being that the crate system that replaced the physical shops to get cosmetics got removed thanks to backlash, changing to a new system that the staff team also considered, being voted on by the community. Pretty much everyone I know really disliked this crate system, and a few got worried about what EToH was becoming. But the controversy I want to talk about in this video was the release of Purgatorio itself, because when it was announced that the update would release tomorrow, it made an already hyped release spiral out of control for anyone in the community to handle, which made me realize just how bad this game's fans have gotten over the years. So let's begin with this video already, because I have a lot of shit to say. An hour and a half after the release of Purgatorio, the Discord server was finally open to the public, which immediately resulted in lots of messages, some of which were obviously complaints because we are inhuman if we don't complain. Nonetheless, a few of these criticisms were downright useless, criticizing just for the sake of criticizing, such as this one that might come from being confused or not doing proper research before talking, but it's easily the most inoffensive criticism there is. So, you know, if this person is watching this video, even though you were wrong, you were respectful, so, you know, good job. However, the same thing can't be said for others. These screenshots are from the exact same person, and I don't even think I have to say anything about them because it literally speaks for itself. It comes off as very nitpicky because this guy goes out of his way to ignore everything else about the update that is important and instead focuses on a ridiculously small thing, complaining for the sake of complaining. But other than these small nitpicky complaints that are, you know, generally not too bad, there are a lot of disrespectful messages directed to the staff team. Pretty much saying that the game was better off without the update, making months of hard work feel worthless, and that instead of doing good for the game and its players, it actually made everything worse, which is not true. There barely exist messages of people saying the update was respectfully not of their liking, with most critics saying the same dull shit over and over again, and it's that the update sucks. But the disrespect of the community got to the point of saying, and I quote, "Dude, even original Toast was an even better tutorial than TOG, TOB, or TOMB, or whatever the fuck the third one is, bro, because this area fucking sucks, none of the towers are fun, they are boring." So, as you can tell, these messages stopped being criticism and started becoming insults. Not good at all. Other things that people said about this update are that the staff team screwed up vertical mobility, which is not completely true. Vertical mobility still works, but you need to wait at least 3 minutes before actually being able to touch the wingpad, which I would assume is a bug. And just as a quick reminder, bugs happen with every single game. It's normal for this type of things to happen, and even then this would just get fixed in less than a week. So this message shows how impatient some of the community are for absolutely everything. I get the idea behind this message since vertical mobility is really goddamn expensive and you, well, expect something good from it, but it's definitely not a scam as they make it seem. EToH devs just need time to fix every unique issue that players get. All you need is a tiny bit of patience, but apparently that's non-existent in this community because holy fuck, dude. Anyways, I think I've made my point of why this part of the community is taking the problems of this release way too far, but if you think that I'm cherry picking these messages to prove my point, here are more messages of people disrespectfully hating on the update, and as a matter of fact, I invite you to stop the video, go to the Discord server and scroll through when Purgatorio came out, because there are so many messages just like these that didn't appear in this video at all, because I literally couldn't keep up with all of them, which, you know, again, is not a good thing. Moving on from these people, we have the other side of the coin. We have the part of the community who have had enough of these people's complaints and overall mean comments to the staff team. And you know, I just so happen to be in this side of the spectrum. From what I can gather, these users and I don't really like how the staff team is being treated, with one person saying EToH players when the devs try to make a good update for the players, and that's true. The developers tried really hard to make these updates fun for everyone, so the comments of these other people come off as just ungrateful for even the area's existence. It makes the staff's work seem much more minuscule than it, you know, actually is. Their efforts are actually really fucking important. The game would never be in the position it currently is without them. However, this side isn't entirely right either, and even if I agree with the people saying that some members are way too ungrateful, you can tell this whole situation really bothered these guys, including me, because why the hell would I make a 20-minute long video if I didn't care about this topic? The point I'm trying to make here is that the toxicity coming from the other side of the community is infectious, and indirectly or not, ends up making all sides disagree and get pissed off at each other, making the entire EToH discussion chat an absolute mess of people fighting to see who the hell is right, which is obviously really bad. You cannot fight fire with fire, but this is how most EToH discussions have been for a long time. Everyone fights over why they're right and the other person isn't. The thing is, why does this even happen? As I said, the community has been like this for quite literally ages, so why do we still discuss with other members? Because to me, it seems like the community becomes more hostile every time new content comes out. And well, there might be a reason for that, and I say this because a few players haven't been very happy with the game for a while, and let's just say that the number of people that think this way is growing with every update. So here's my theory. I'm begging, please give me attention. I hate UI, I hate the stupid update that the devs put their time and sweat into, please. I just hate every single tiny update in the game, please, please, please. Nostalgia can remind us of our favorite moments in life in a very epic way. Imagine, the year is 2011 and you are playing Super Mario Galaxy late at night without having to worry too much about homework or a job. At that time, you didn't know how free you were, but now it's something you want to experience all over again. It's a really powerful feeling. Which is what I would say if nostalgia didn't get a whole different fucking meaning in this community. I think everyone is aware of what nostalgia actually means, but in the EToH community, nostalgia to me gets a whole different meaning. One that I like to call, I don't like the game now, so I'm going to say that it used to be better before, even though there were more problems with it compared to nowadays, just for the sole fact that I started playing at that time. Yup, nostalgia in this community is used as a dogshit excuse to hate on updates, with people saying that EToH lost its soul and that the developers are now quote-unquote only trying to make the game more commercially appealing instead of keeping the game its own original unique thing. Which, if the guy who made this comment is watching this, I'm sorry to say this, but just because the new players now have a good tutorial and an exponentially better difficulty curve that you didn't have years ago does not mean that EToH sold out. And that actually reminds me that I despise this argument that people have been tossing around recently, which is that the EToH staff team is money hungry, and well, no shit they are. The developers got robbed of $250,000 of their hard work for presumably 5 years by Jucala, and some staff get most of their income, if not all of it, from this thing. So this EToH wants money argument mostly comes from ignorance because this shit has been making money since the beginning of time. This is not a new thing. This game never sold out because it already did half a decade ago by the first owner, Kitty Cannon. And even then, this is not a bad thing at all since people literally live off this shit. And if it weren't for EToH, then God knows where the developers would be. Anyways, coming back to the nostalgia topic, I'm going to be introducing a new character in this video, so please give it up for ŭn-grāt. Bum bum bum. Alright, so ŭn-grāt is a 14-year-old self-titled corrupt EToH staff team hater who is very well known in the Discord server for his blunt criticisms of, you guessed it, the staff team and also the community overall. Oh, and he's also known for other bad shit that I'm not educated at all on, so I won't say anything about it because I don't know if it's true. So yeah, this kid has pretty much been through hell and back, but I digress. One of the criticisms Arthrex gives to the update is about the ring select getting butchered and game history being deleted, which would be true except for the fact that we know 90% of what the ring select used to look like thanks to YouTube videos. I sadly couldn't find a video that included sub-ROMs, but we still have a really big idea of what it used to be. And even if these videos didn't exist, I don't know why he's using game history to complain about the ring select changing, even though there are tons of valid criticisms regarding it. To me, game history is probably the least important thing to complain about this, which, you know, considering he started playing EToH in 2020 when he was only 9, it might emphasize my point of people using nostalgia to criticize the game. But if I'm going to be wrong about one thing in this video, it's probably going to be this conclusion. Okay, so it turns out I was right. 2 days after recording this video, Arthrex made a post that gave proper criticism to the ring select, and I mostly agree with what he had to say, so this part of the video is outdated. I would just cut it out because my perception of him, you know, changed, but it's still worth mentioning because of what I'll say next, so yeah, back to the video. Even though Arthrex's nostalgia might not be the actual reason behind his criticisms, other people who don't like the game now, instead of having an actual reason behind their opinions, just spew out whatever nostalgic things comes to mind first. Which really goes to show how determined some people are to not like any of the new stuff the staff team adds to EToH. They complain about it with the argument of the game is changing, even if the changes are either very small or literally better. As I said, they are blinded by nostalgia or just straight up wrong. Maybe even both, dude. Oh man, this staff team. I'm gonna need to grab the mic for this one. Now listen, I really like most of the work they do, and this year has been full of banger updates, but I can't help but feel like the EToH developers are afraid of us. And I say this because most of them barely try to interact with the community during every releases, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. Actually, I get why they're doing it. Shit is just too much to handle, man. There are too few people to fix the early bugs of the update and too few people to moderate the explosion of messages, and it's just better off ignoring all of it at first and then slowly fixing everything days later. This has become such a problem that there were insults directed at moderators of the server for adding slow mode to the channels of the Discord server. I get being stressed over it because slow mode is pretty annoying, but telling them to go fuck off over it is just really petty, man. And even when the staff team gets pinged to compliment their work, some of them even worry about what the message will be even before reading it. And I know this is too obvious, but this shit is not normal. Not a single developer should expect their players to complain about their project, but this community is so off the deep end that even when contributors politely ask people to be nice to the devs, they still get punched in the face. Worst part is, I don't even know how they do it. I've had fan games in the past, and there were times that I wanted to stop working on projects entirely. And of course, having to deal with these things is part of the job, but god damn, the one time I had to deal with this shit, it ended up being so mentally draining. It's crazy, dude. So I really hope the best for the EToH staff and that they stay healthy. The fact that there are some developers that have been working on this game for more than 5 years is just out of this world. It's disgusting even. So as a short break from the seriousness and just the overall discussion of this video, I have to say thank you to the devs for all the updates y'all have done for the community, and also thank you for somehow putting up with our bullshit and not giving up on us yet. But yeah, maybe they aren't even watching this video to begin with, but I still figured it was worth appreciating their work because they really care about this game and it shows. Okay, before we continue, I'm gonna put the mic back on the mic stand because I can't tolerate holding it any longer, dude. Anyways, this was kind of bad timing considering I just glazed the fuck out of them, but the staff team is still a big part of the problem. They should be more communicative and tell members that if they don't discuss with respect or just straight up don't have banners, they will be punished for it. And I say this because the fact that some people discuss the game like this is actually crazy. It honestly keeps pushing back our community from getting better over time. I'm actually gonna talk a little bit more about this comment because I think it's really funny, and even though I won't say who this is, I don't want anyone to go look for this guy and harass him because that's trash, that's bad people behavior. So on a YouTube post, I gave a comment on how some people don't have respect for the staff team's work, and the guy from the comment I showed earlier responded saying, hey, maybe they're saying the update was bad because it was. Guess what? bad. And I told him that, it's fine if you don't like an update, just don't be an asshole while criticizing it, have fucking respect. And, looking at his other comment, he just couldn't care less about respect, And when I posted this motherfucker literally ignored me, dude. He just commented on another post a day later, which is actually hilarious, dude. So, shout out to this guy if he's somehow watching this, because he not only made my day, he made my week, and I'm not kidding, dude. I'm not exaggerating or anything. I actually think this is so funny. Okay, I'm done talking about this guy. This is the last time I get off topic, dude. I promise, dude. So, if you somehow don't know, the EToH Discord server has a whopping 70,000 members, and it only has a whopping moderators and administrators. So let's say that there's barely any staff to properly work on moderation, and it's proven that they need more people because Purgatorio is not the only time when there's been slow mode. In September of this year, or well, 2 months ago, the Roblox Innovation Awards happened, with EToH losing against Regretabator for Best Obby and Platformer Experience, and when this happened, the server apparently had a 6-hour slow mode, and then the owners themselves announced to the community to stop attacking, harassing, or raiding the winning game. So this shit is pretty much normal nowadays. Some EToH fans heavily act on impulse during these kinds of things, which is a terrible image for the community as a whole, god damn. And I know this is incredibly obvious, but if the moderators never do anything about these people and never start properly moderating the server, this community will never change, man. The people will realize that what they're doing, even if it's wrong, is not getting punished on the server. Therefore, this will keep going and going until it's impossible to change. As if this shit wasn't already challenging enough. I would actually propose doing mod applications because they haven't been done in the longest time, and it's something that people have been very vocal about for more than 6 months, maybe even an entire year or more. I don't even know anymore. The people don't know anymore. Applications happen so infrequently that the same people who wanted it to happen even joke that these applications never do and never will occur, which is honestly pretty sad, and I actually agree with them. As staff, please open mod applications. These motherfuckers are starving. Now, will having more moderators and administrators stop the problem? Honestly, probably not, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, and a very big one at that. But of course, that is just a speculation. We currently can't do anything about this because, well, applications haven't opened yet, so we need the staff's cooperation in this if we want it to work out. But just doing a temporary slow mode each update as moderation won't change shit though, that's for sure.
Be quiet.
He was gone.
Yeah. Badass children.
The B3 and Purgatorio updates aren't safe from criticism either. Now, don't get me wrong, the update is phenomenal and is my favorite in the entire game, but there are things that should definitely be considered to implement or change, such as all of these that I'm putting up on the screen, and these are just the ones that I found, because there are definitely a lot of other criticisms that I have missed because of how controversial this entire update was. So yeah, I mean, it's good to the point that all screenshots in this video come directly from the EToH Discord server, with a huge part of them coming from a single channel, that being EToH Discussion. So I really can't imagine how other Discord channels and servers were during this whole ordeal, because this shit is really fucking hell on earth, man, goddamn. Why is everyone in this chat so negative? Did everyone here have a bad day, or did society condition you to be a nihilistic, pessimistic man or woman or person? Something that I haven't seen anyone talk about regarding this game is how Eternal Towers of Hell is what Duke's Towers of Hell wanted to be for a very long time. When Yukala was an owner, EToH, then known as jtoh, was in this weird state of being a rich game from the Kitty's Towers of Hell era and a serious attempt at being a good product. However, we all know what happened with Yukala, which ended up forcing the developers to rebrand the game to EToH, but it was only then, in that moment, that it could finally be transformed into being a full-on quality platformer. And to me, it's especially crazy seeing messages of people saying that the game lost the soul that it had, or that the staff became greedy for trying to make the game more known. But no, the staff decided a path for the game to take and focused on it to execute it well. EToH is now a coherent game. This is why there have been lobby and tower revamps left and right. They were done to be up to current standards, and they still have a long way to go. And let's make something clear right now. ŭn-grāt would have never ever done this. All the updates that came out this year alone, and look where they got us. If ŭn was still the owner, at most these would be the releases we will have this year, and everyone will be complaining about there being, you guessed it, no updates. And even though 2025 has been packed with new content, why is the community still complaining? Well, it's really hard to say as a person who doesn't mind the updates. You, for example, might think, oh, well, they don't like the direction the game is going. But to me, the reason for this preoccupation is something this entire video was about. Change. Everyone in the community doesn't want to deal with changing. It's not only these few select people who are going through it. The staff team has always had problems with its management, but it seemed that the current one was changing everything we once knew. It became more active and posted big announcements every month. However, they didn't seem to try doing announcements regarding the removal of towers or the demotion of staff. So, where's the change? Well, the staff team did change, but just on the surface. It's almost as if they were afraid of fully changing their ways and becoming transparent about all the game issues and controversies. And you might have realized what I'm getting to here, but it's not only the staff who need to change, it's the entire community, it's everyone. I've seen how we have become more negative throughout the years. When a good update happens, no one is really happy anymore. Yes, some might think it's cool, but they will move on to the next thing in less than a week. But when the update doesn't live up to the hype, the community goes into a chaos and no one knows what to do or how to respond to it, making it all unfold into predictable chaos. The staff team goes back to enabling slow mode to quote-unquote moderate the server, quietly watching the community through the spider hole, while the players keep rambling and arguing about whose opinion is right and which one is wrong, with an embarrassing amount of insults and ironic undertones flying everywhere. Well, I guess some things just never change. No, my mom is in the bathroom. No, I cannot say swear words. No. Fuck! Man, this shit is so stupid, dude.